You're watching DC News Now at 4. Thank you for joining us. I'm Mark Hall.
And I'm Tosin Fakile in for Annalisa Gale, who has the afternoon off. We are following breaking news out of Maryland, where a pilot is dead following a small plane crash in Talbot County. We'll have those details in just moments. But first, we begin with a check on the forecast. We're talking dangerous triple-digit temperatures with a chance of thunderstorms.
It just feels different, Tosin. Meteorologist Damon Madsen joins us now. Damon, how are things looking right now?
It's just downright brutal out there right now, guys. Plain and simple, as we are continuing to deal with this excessive heat. And like Tosin just said, now we're talking about the threat of severe thunderstorms in the mix as well. Here are those excessive heat warnings in the pink, heat advisories in the orange, just reflecting how hot and humid it continues to be. Those remain in effect until 8 p.m. But this is the latest from the National Weather Service out just about 20 to 30 minutes ago. A severe thunderstorm watch has been put into place east of the I-81 corridor. This stretches across all I-95, including the D.C. Metro, surrounding counties, all the way over to the Chesapeake Bay. This severe thunderstorm watch goes until 10 p.m. tonight, as we are going to get thunderstorm development in this brutal heat and humidity. The atmosphere is energized, to say the least. Look at this temperature in D.C. It is 103 degrees as we speak. It's 102 in Waldorf and Hagerstown. And just a little while ago, D.C. briefly jumped to 104 degrees. That would tie the record high for today's date, set back in 1988. And the heat index is just as rough out there. It feels like 111 in Lexington Park, 108 in the district. Now, we are just beginning to see thunderstorms develop back over toward the Shenandoah Valley, all the way up toward Frederick County, Maryland. This broken line will likely continue to develop over the next few hours and continue to push eastward, with these storms gaining strength as they run into more of this excessive heat and humidity that is in place. So we'll be timing out when we should expect the worst of any of this severe weather to roll through today, what impacts you might be finding from those severe storms, and we'll talk about when this heat and humidity might finally break for us. All of that coming up in your full forecast here in just a bit.
All right, Damon, thank you. And if you need somewhere to cool off, we have a list of resources online. Just go to dcnewsnow.com, then click on DMV Extreme Heat under the Weather tab.
Now back to that breaking news. A pilot killed in a small plane crash in Talbot County, Maryland.
Yeah, the FAA says the pilot reported engine failure before crashing into a river near Easton.
DC News Now's Randy Bass live at the scene near Travelers Rest Circle. Randy, what can you tell us?
Yeah, hey, Mark Tosin. Right now, those crews are working to remove that small plane from the Tread Avon River here in Easton. The pilot, who has not yet been publicly identified, was the only person on board and was flying as a contractor with a local nonprofit called the University Research Foundation. It was supposed to be just a quick flight from Fort Meade to Easton. Their plans today were just to move that plane. Witnesses here along Travelers Rest Circle called 911 when they saw that plane crash into the water here. Divers from the Anne Arundel County Rescue Team were able to get here to the scene, get down into the water, and recover the pilot's body. He was pronounced dead at the scene here as they brought him up to shore. The pilot, again, flying as a contractor for the University Research Foundation. That's based out of Greenbelt. They do atmospheric and aviation research with the University of Maryland. And we've heard from people today who say that community is greatly affected by the tragedy.
Thoughts and prayers go out to the pilot, to the University of Maryland community who is very affected by this. And this is really important work that they're doing.
The University of Maryland says there were also plans to have research conducted using that aircraft later today. Again, there are still so many unanswered questions about what happened here today and what may have led up to this plane crash. We do know that the FAA is confirming the pilot reported engine failure before crashing into the water. Again, the FAA is still investigating here, and the NTSB will also lead a separate investigation, but could be several days, state police say, before we know more. Live in Easton, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.
Randy, thank you, Randy. More breaking news. He's been a political icon in the Senate for 3 decades, but now he faces decades behind bars. New Jersey Senator Bob Menendez found guilty of massive fraud in federal court. Menendez was convicted of all charges at his corruption trial, including accepting bribes in the form of cash, gold bars, and other items. The senator faces up to 20 years in prison. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is calling for Menendez to resign.
Well, happening now, the cleanup continues following a nasty storm that brought down trees and power lines in parts of the district. One of the hardest hit areas is the upper Chevy Chase neighborhood in Northwest. Trees damaged several homes, and DC News Now's Dave Laval joins us from that neighborhood. Dave, tell us, how is cleanup going?
Well, good afternoon to both of you. It has taken a lot of work, but things are definitely improving here along Tennyson Street near the corner of 33rd Street Northwest. And as you can see behind me, there is still a lot of work to be done as families still are cleaning up following Monday night's strong winds.
I think it's the last one in range.
Phil Kirpin and his family are able to stay in their home despite the damage from the tree that fell on it Monday night from the strong winds. Several branches landed near the bedroom window of Kirpin's son.
It was just like shocking, you know. It's kind of like that could have broke my window. I was thinking, luckily it didn't.
For the Kirpins, this is the third tree to hit their house in 11 years.
I don't know, maybe another one will fall at a weird angle and get us.
She came rushing up. She says there is a branch through the window, right where she was sitting.
The wife of Ashai Tandon had just left their dinette area when it happened.
It would have hit her if she had not moved, so we call it divine intervention.
Crews continued clearing fallen trees from this upper Chevy Chase neighborhood.
The storm's pretty bad out there so far from what we've seen.
Charles McFarland is with Reliable Contractors. His company surveys the damage. So far, the count stands at 10 homes. But McFarland says it could go as high as 40.
This damage right here in the D.C. area is definitely bigger than what we saw in Gaithersburg.
McFarland estimates 20% of the homes suffered extensive damage. The only good news is there have been no reports of any serious injuries from the storm. And according to Pepco, all power has been restored to those here who lost it Monday night. We're live in Northwest. Dave Laval, DC News Now.
All right, Dave, thank you. Montgomery County Police are asking for help finding suspects who tried to break into a gas station by crashing into it. It's all caught on camera. DC News Now's Christian Pena has more from Silver Spring.
The owner of the gas station right behind me did not want to participate in an on-camera interview as he's still grappling with the shocking news. He's operated this shop for nearly 2 decades and tells me never in a million years would he have imagined to experience what he just saw this morning. Montgomery County Police are investigating an attempted burglary on Cherry Hill Road after a U-Haul repeatedly ramming the Sunoco entrance Tuesday morning. The news shocking daily customers.
It's pretty bizarre. I'd say probably unheard of in this area.
The owner of the gas station shared video showing a truck driving into the gas station several times around 2 a.m. He says 3 people were in a U-Haul trying to steal an ATM but gave up after 10 attempts. His one overnight employee then ran to the back of the store and called 911.
The guy that was working overnight will have to run for his life. I hope that wouldn't be a repetition of this next time, man.
A regular customer living across the gas station says employees told him they're still grappling with the chaos.
The guy is just shaking in there, explaining all this to me.
The gas station owner tells me that no one was injured and the ATM was not able to be removed as it was bolted to the ground. Those customers are now calling for more police presence in the area.
If they patrolled more often and actually did something, and that'd be great.
I hope everybody feels safe now that this has occurred and more attention will be paid to this particular gas station right here.
The owner of the gas station tells me the damage is well into the tens of thousands and that it could take several months for his gas station to be fully reconstructed. For now, reporting out of Silver Spring, Maryland, I'm Christian Pena, DC News Now.
DC News Now is your local election headquarters. A major moment at the Republican National Convention. Video from Monday night shows former President Donald Trump walking in with a bandage over his right ear where a bullet hit him in Saturday's assassination attempt. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin took to the stage touting what he calls major success in the Commonwealth. He also spoke highly of the former president and asked everyone at the convention to pray for the people who were hurt and killed in Butler, Pennsylvania on Saturday.
We stop for a moment. We ask for God's grace to be on innocent victims. We ask him to be with their families. We thank him for this moment of unity. And we thank him for protecting our next president, Donald J. Trump.
That was Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin you just heard from, and there was speculation that Youngkin could be Donald Trump's running mate. Trump instead chose Ohio Senator J.D. Vance for the job. A political science professor we spoke to says Trump likely passed on Youngkin for a variety of reasons, including that he is not as politically aligned with Trump, not as fiery as Vance, and not as well known.
Not just that Governor Youngkin is not a U.S. Senator, but he also is not the author of a best-selling book, Hillbilly Elegy, that turned into a Netflix show and all of that. So those kinds of reasons may also have played into former President Trump's decision.
And Youngkin also losing favor in the eyes of Virginians. A new Virginia Commonwealth University poll shows a 7-point net decline in his approval. 50% approve of Youngkin's performance as governor, 39% disapprove. And that same poll shows support for President Biden in Virginia is declining. Take a look at this. A new poll released by VCU shows former President Trump up by 3 points in the Commonwealth over President Biden. The poll done at about the same time as a presidential debate where Biden had a terrible performance. I spoke to political experts who say this poll shows more of the writing on the wall.
I've seen polls just in the past week from 11 other states, and pretty much they all show the same thing. Joe Biden is sinking.
And in a state where President Biden won with 10 percentage points in 2020, the president seems to also be sinking in Virginia. A new VCU poll shows Biden with 36% of support, trailing former President Trump, who has 39%. Biden dropped from 42% support in a VCU poll in December.
What this is a realization that the age of Joe Biden really is affecting his performance. And that was brought home to people in a dramatic way during the debate with Donald Trump. They realized we're not just looking at Joe Biden as he exists today. We've got to add 4 years. And 4 years of deterioration.
Even though Trump has a leg up in this VCU poll, experts say the poll says more about Biden than it does Trump.
Because Virginia is not inclined toward Trump. They rejected him against Hillary Clinton by 5 points. They rejected Trump against Joe Biden by 10 points. They'll reject him a third time if they have a decent Democrat to vote for.
The new poll showed 46% of black voters say they would vote for Biden, a major drop from the 67% of black voters in the last VCU poll.
If it's competitive in Virginia, Joe Biden is losing, and probably badly.
Now, even though Trump is up in the poll, it doesn't necessarily mean smooth sailing for him. The poll also showed about 53% of Virginia voters say they're less likely to vote for the former president because of his conviction in 34 felony counts in New York. 31% say because of that conviction, they're more likely to vote for him.